Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Monday, May 9th, 2022 Maplewood City Council meeting. We have a full crowd again tonight, so welcome, everyone. We know it won't last. We know you're only here for a very specific purpose. But tonight I wanted to open up by saying that spring, I think, is finally here. I sat down this afternoon and was thinking about all of the indicators of spring. Boy, I know I have been waiting for it for a very long time. We had a really successful tree sale this spring. Arbor Day our celebration is coming up on May 14th from 10 until noon. Our spring cleanup is coming up May 21st here at Aldridge Arena. So clean out your garages and your basements. The road crews have been out patching, which is really nice. That I don't think that the roads are going to freeze over again, but the road crews are out. I know I saw the street sweepers were out as well. Thank you, Mr. Love, for all of that. I know residents are thanking me, and they're really thrilled to see those crews out working. The spring bulbs are finally blooming. I noticed tonight several council members have sandals on, so that's another indicator of spring. We had our first weather event. Well, didn't we have a storm warning today? It was kind of not a big deal, but still, it was our first storm watch. And according to our council packets, we have a whole schedule of fun events coming up. We have summer grill outs that are happening with our public safety department. We've got a bike giveaway that's happening on June 4th. We have National Get Out Day Doors Treasure Hunt that's going to happen. We have a Touch a Truck event that will be happening. We have our City 4th of July celebration, National Night Out. That gets us into August, but it really is fun. I think we've passed winter. I'm going to declare that we have passed winter. If I can do that as mayor, I'm not quite sure that my powers go that far, but for me, winter is all done, and we are full-blown into spring. And so it's just it's a nice pleasure to see all of you here, and things are normalizing, I believe. So that is always something nice to look forward to. So we are going to move to the Pledge of Allegiance. We have two very special guests that are going to be helping us with the Pledge of Allegiance. We have Warren Thomas Tozel and Amelia Lorraine Tozel. Would you please join us up at the dais up here? And Mom, if you want to feel like you want to come up with them, if they'll do it, okay. So if you all would stand up and join us. Warren and Amelia, do you want to start us off with the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Warren and Amelia. That was a great job. Their dad is getting promoted tonight. So thank you. You're going to get some airtime yourselves on our council meeting. So thank you for that. City Clerk Sint, would you do the roll call for us, please?
Councilmember Villavicencio. Here. Councilmember Cave.
Here.
Councilmember Juniman.
Here.
Councilmember Knutson.
Here.
Mayor Abrams.
I'm here as well. Thank you. Council members, is there a motion to approve our agenda?
I motion. Second.
Moved by Knutson, seconded by Cave, the motion to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Juniman.
Of course, we have to do a little closer dive on the city cleanup.
Okay, city cleanup. I would like to add catalytic converter thefts to the agenda as well. We'll discuss that a little bit. Anyone else have anything else they'd like to add? Okay, hearing nothing else, then let's take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Council members, let's look at the approval of our minutes next. The first agenda item is the April 25th, 2022 City Council Workshop Meeting Minutes. Is there a motion?
I move approval.
Second.
Moved by Juniman, seconded by Knutson, the motion to approve the April 25th, 2022 City Council Workshop meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have the April 25th, 2022 City Council meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Knutson, seconded by Juniman, the motion to approve the April 25th, 2022 City Council meeting minutes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, then all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Moving on our agenda to appointments and presentations, we start with our council calendar update. City Manager Coleman.
Thank you, Mayor Abrams, members of the City Council. I won't talk about the Arbor Day and spring cleanup because you've already mentioned that. Scheduled for May 23rd at our workshop, we're going to have a discussion on the general fund surplus and how those surplus funds are allocated. And then also I have invited the manager of the Maplewood YMCC to come and give us an update. We'll hear about some of the things that they did with the ARP funds that we granted them, and just hear a general report about how things are picking up. And I can tell you the last time I checked in with them, they said we're almost now to where we were with memberships and attendance in 2019, before the pandemic. So that's all
That's good to
very
hear.
positive news. In addition to that, Mayor, I think you might want to talk, I think you talked to me a little bit this morning about talking about the ponds and how we might consider engagement with the neighbors and also communicating with residents overall about what's going on there with the county.
I suggested earlier to City Manager Coleman that we may want to talk about it at a workshop because I know some of us are getting questions. I know I am getting questions about the ponds, and I think doing an update during a workshop would be very helpful. So we'll put that on for May 23rd.
Okay. And then the last thing I have is the council schedule for Maplewood Living through January 2023. And on the calendar, there's one thing that should be noted. There are 3 people on the council, the mayor and Councilmember Juniman and Councilmember Knutson, who will have to sign up starting May 17th to let us know whether they're going to run for re-election or not. And if they choose to run for re-election, they are not able to write articles in the Maplewood Living for this election season. So I just wanted to let everybody know that if they do decide to run, then it'll be up to me and department heads and others to write in your place. So we'll try to do the best we can in representing the 3 of you, should you choose to continue. So that's really all I have, unless you have questions or other considerations for staff.
Council members, is there anything else you'd like to add? I don't see any lights on. Okay, then let's move on to council presentations. Councilmember Juniman, city cleanup.
Well, since this is our last meeting before the city cleanup, this is the last time people have to hear me say this, but let it lodge, please. Saturday, May 21st, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Aldrich Arena, the annual city spring cleanup. So look in the corners of your garage and your basement, and if your wife says so, your den. Anyway, get everything you can get your hands on that you want to get rid of. We have the trash people here, and there will be small engine repair people. I believe we're doing carpeting again. Anyway, there's a lot of vendors. Bicycles. However, there are 2 that are not available this time. I'm sorry. It is not in the right sequence to have the Ramsey County hazardous waste at the same time, so that won't be that Saturday. And we also are not doing the shredding because we had a shredding event separate. So we'll be doing that again later.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Councilmember Villavicencio, did you have a question about the cleanup?
Yes. I
Okay,
did. Sorry
sure.
about that.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, is there like a specific, like I heard from years past, or just this during COVID, like there were so many people, and that at some point they had to like cut it off. Is there like a cutoff time that we're doing, or like how's that gonna work?
What happened last time and the time before was when it gets to be like 12:45 and you know it's over at 1, you walk way down the road to the last car you see and say, I'm sorry, but we have to cut it off, because the vendors are only
Yeah.
contracted with to stay until 1, and if they have all they can haul, we can't take anymore. So we try and warn people. We said last year we're going to have to start earlier, probably around 12:30, looking down the road and seeing how far the line goes.
I know the problem that you were talking about. It was canceled the first year of the pandemic. And so people saved up 2 years' worth of junk. And there was just so much that we actually accommodated that by doing some additional, well, we had another pickup in October, and then we had the shredding event too. So we tried to balance that out, but it was an issue. I know that Sean Finwall, our staff member responsible for this, or kind of orchestrating it all, has, I think, been working very diligently to try to avoid that problem. So don't wait until 1 o'clock and think that you might get your things dumped. So make sure that you get here earlier. That would be better, I think. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, and the other council presentation, I wanted to bring up the theft of catalytic converters. It's something that I'm hearing from residents about, and some of you might have seen Maplewood receive the dubious distinction of being number 1 in the metro area for catalytic converters. And certainly, it's not a distinction that we want to have. So what I have done is I reached out to our legislators, to Representative Peter Fisher and Representative Tu Zhang, and asked them about pending legislation that will improve this problem, because it's certainly something that our residents and businesses are suffering from. And so what they advised me is that there is currently legislation pending that will dramatically increase the penalties and will also help fund prevention to help identify and mark catalytic converters. I was assured by both representatives, as sure as they can be, that there will be something coming out of a conference committee, and they expect that there will be a bill that will help address this from a statewide perspective. I've also chatted with our Public Safety Director, Beardeman, who has taken it upon the department and himself, and I asked him if he could please explain the measures that he is taking in terms of this catalytic converter theft problem and we're not unlike many other cities. I've talked with other mayors, I've talked with council members from the city of St. Paul. They're all experiencing catalytic converters, and it's something that is very troubling. So Public Safety Director Beardeman, do you want to tell us what we're doing to address the problem?
Certainly, Mayor, thank you. We are number 1 in many things. This is one that we don't want to be number 1 in, as you mentioned. And it's going to take legislative change to really dig into this issue. It is an issue that's metro-wide. However, we do pride ourselves in problem solving in Maplewood Public Safety, so we did create an operational plan a week ago that consists of real-time hotspot mapping, also extra patrols to include overtime shifts, and activating part of our street crimes unit once again. We're also partnering with other agencies to share information, and as you know, a lot of these thieves are transient, and they're going from one jurisdiction to another, so obviously to partner is really going to be the best way. And then also a big social media campaign to really advise people of what type of vehicles are being targeted, where they're being targeted, and how they're being targeted, and just how quickly this can happen. So it's kind of a multi-pronged approach, but again, it's going to be the legislative change that really makes the biggest difference in this.
Thank you for taking that initiative. I think it's really important, and I appreciate it so much to try to problem solve this on behalf of our city. So thank you for that. Councilmember Juniman.
I just accidentally ran into this last week. There are 2 that I know of, auto repair places in Maplewood that are for free are painting an iridescent strip on your catalytic converter to kind of discourage people from trying to get rid of it. So why would they take it if they can't get rid of it? So you might want to check with your automotive repair person, but I know we have 2 that are doing it.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, now moving on to why everyone is filled, all the seats in our audience are filled tonight. We have a swearing-in ceremony. Police Sergeants Joseph Demeling, Derek Fritzy, Rachel Murray, and Brian Tazel. Chief, this is yours. Do you want to step up to the podium, please?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. As you know, police sergeants play a very big role in the success of any agency. Organizationally, the chief of police is the face of the law enforcement agency. He or she sets the tone and really steers and guides the ship. The command staff are really the managers. They oversee the rules, ensuring regulations and directives are followed. But the sergeants are one of the most important parts of a police department. On any given day, I know this from my 20 years of experience, the chief can take a day off and not a lot of people notice, and work continues to get done. If the sergeant does not show up to a shift, the work halts and everybody notices. To use the analogy of a sports team, they are definitely the most valuable players. Sergeants provide the workplace direction, are responsible for the morale of the department, the discipline, the training, and really taking care of those on their watch. Most importantly, they are the buffer between command personnel, line staff, and the community. Without question, sergeants are the backbone of our department, and collectively they either make or break an agency. We currently have 6 sergeants, and I can tell you, standing in front of you, that they make our agency. It's kind of a unique night. This is the first time in Maplewood history that I can recall that we've sworn in 4 sergeants. We only have 6 total, so typically, a chief doesn't get to swear in too many sergeants, but I swore in one a couple months ago, and now we're swearing in 4 more. Some of these are long overdue. Going back to April 2020, due to COVID, we didn't want to swear them in virtually, so we've kind of been putting it off, and now we're able to come in front of the council and swear them in. So some of these go back all the way to April 2020, but we're here now, and we're in front of you, and we're going to swear them in. So the first person I'd like to welcome up is really a solid sergeant. He's steady, he's knowledgeable, he was a detective for years, and he's the longest standing sergeant that we have that has not been sworn in yet. April of 2020 is when he took over the role. It's badge number 334, Derek Fritzy, if he could step up. Since we have 4 sergeants tonight, and to save my voice a little bit, and these are seasoned officers and not brand new officers, typically I'll read their bio. I've asked that they present to the council themselves their bio, so I'll allow Derek the mic and he can tell you all about himself, and then we'll swear him in. It's all yours.
Good evening and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Appreciate it. It's been 15 years since I've stood in front of this council. I got sworn in as a police officer. So even though it feels like a blink of an eye, I've accomplished many things and served the community in various roles in that time. I've earned my master's degree in police leadership from the University of St. Thomas. Prior to being promoted to sergeant 2 years ago, held a position within the police department as a patrol officer, detective, school resource officer, retail crime officer, street crimes officer, and Ramsey County Violent Crime Enforcement Team investigator. All these positions were uniquely challenging, but the past 2 years as a patrol sergeant has been the most challenging so far in my career. It's been a perfect storm with COVID and social turmoil. However, there are 3 lessons that I've learned through my time as a sergeant so far. Number 1, relationships matter. With the surge of retirements and hiring of young officers, it's important to develop relationships, provide guidance. Policing is not like it was 10, 15 years ago. But this is one thing that has not changed. Leaders often learn from somebody who influenced me, and this is one of the most important things that Sergeant Johnson, who's here, has taught me as I was a young officer. Number 2, being a police officer takes courage and resilience that those who are not in the field may not understand. I'm impressed with my officers every day for how they represent the community. It takes a special person and a calling to be a police officer, and I'm proud of each officer that takes on that responsibility. And number 3, the community really does support the police. It may not always be obvious because of the situations that we deal with, but they really do. As a sergeant, I stress the importance of making positive community connections. Most of us got into law enforcement to make a difference in the community. And making the connections with the community is really what makes a difference. In the way the city and the department supports community outreach is the driving factor for what keeps me in this field. I just want to thank all of you for our support. Thank family, friends, the community. It's been a great experience so far, and I look forward to everything in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Stand right there. Raise your right hand. I, Derek Fritzie, do solemnly swear
I, Derek Fritzie, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Minnesota,
and the state of Minnesota,
and faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of police sergeant
of the office of police sergeant
in the city of Maplewood,
in the city of Maplewood,
in the county of Ramsey,
county of Ramsey,
and the state of Minnesota,
and the state of Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
I will never betray my badge, my integrity,
I will never
betray
my badge, my integrity,
my character, or the public trust.
my character, or the public trust.
I will always have the courage to hold myself
I will always have the courage to hold myself,
and others accountable for our actions.
others responsible,
And others
and others
accountable.
responsible for our
Accountable.
actions.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Put many of these on.
It's been a while since you did that.
The next sergeant is badge 337. This is really a sergeant who took over January 2021, so we're just getting into that more of a year area. He's really a go-to guy. He's the guy that we go to get things done. It's Sergeant Joe DeMulling. We were K-9 partners for years, and I can't think of a better person to serve in the sergeant role. So again, he's going to say a few words and get sworn in.
Thank you, Chief Peterman, Mayor Abrams, City Manager Coleman, and Council. Good evening. So my name is Joe Demling. I started my career as a police officer here in Maplewood more than 14 years ago. As you can attest, I've been working the afternoon shift as a patrol sergeant for a little more than a year now. But, you know, throughout my time as a police officer, I've been a member of the training unit, field training officer, and a K-9 handler. Talking about what drew me to law enforcement was just that ability to be out in the community, solving problems, and just overall trying to do the right thing. You know, I believe most people who seek out this profession share those same intrinsic motivations, which brings me into why I look forward to working and continue working as a patrol sergeant. In this role, I look forward to working with the many younger officers we have, supporting them in their goals, and then challenging them to always be at their best. Working here in the city of Maplewood has always been the perfect platform to help me mentor and guide that next generation of officers coming in. You know, I've predominantly seen an overwhelming continuing amount of support from, you know, for our police officers, from our city, from our citizens, and our elected officials. I believe the support has helped draw quality people into this profession, and I look forward to continue to being a part of it. And then thank you, and also a thank you to my wife for her continuing support. So, thank you.
Raise your right hand. I, Joe DeMulling, do solemnly swear
I, Joe Demily, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Minnesota,
and of the state of Minnesota,
and faithfully discharge
and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of police sergeant
the duties of the office of police sergeant
in the city of Maplewood,
in the city of Maplewood,
in the county of Ramsey,
in the county of Ramsey,
and the state of Minnesota,
and the state of Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
I will never betray my badge, my integrity,
I will never betray my badge, my integrity,
my character, or the public trust.
my character, or the public trust.
I will always have the courage
I will always have the courage
to hold myself and others
to hold myself and others
accountable for our actions.
accountable for our actions.
Congratulations.
She'll get it done right away.
She'll just stick it.
Oh, you're fine. I'm kind of in your way.
Next, we have badge 362. This is Sergeant Rachel Murray. She took over as sergeant November 2021. I want to say retired Marine, but I think once you're a Marine, you're always a Marine, right? Is that the rule? So she's one of our Marines. She's one of our pathways to policing successes as well. I can tell you from watching her in her first couple months in this role, she runs a tight ship, just like a Marine would. But the officers absolutely love working for her. So I'll let Rachel say a few words.
Thank you, Chief Beardman, Mayor Abram, City Manager Melinda Coleman, and council members. Thank you. I want to thank former Chief Schnell for hiring me and Chief Beardman for promoting me to the rank of sergeant and becoming the first person of color to be promoted in a supervisory role. I had served as a patrol officer for Chief Beardman when he was a sergeant, patrol lieutenant, and I'm honored to serve under him as a sergeant. Prior to my law enforcement career, I served in the United States Marine Corps for 8 years while earning my bachelor's degree in communication studies from Minnesota State University, Mankato. I started my law enforcement career through Pathways to Policing program in 2017, which was the first year it was implemented. I have now been with Maplewood Police Department for 5 years. During my time in Maplewood, I have served as a patrol officer, in our street crimes unit, as a field training officer, an honor guard member, a strike team member, acting sergeant, and a newly appointed use of force instructor. I've also been involved in our recruiting committee, strategic plan, and Big Brother, Big Sister. As a supervisor, I want to make sure my officers are set up for success at our department by helping and encouraging them to reach their goals by mentoring and advising them. I truly believe I would not be in my position if it were not for my previous field training officers and supervisors encouraging me and mentoring me throughout the years. I have enjoyed getting to know my officers more personally and look forward to their contributions to our department. I look forward to and want to make sure that we continue to keep our strong ties within the community by staying on top of our strategic plan, community engagement, and continue to have things like Multicultural Advisory Committee to help us gain better perspective. I take this position very seriously and would like to thank my family and friends for supporting me, as well as my officers who have supported me and have truly carried out what Maplewood Police Department stands for. Lastly, I want to thank our city leaders for their unconditional support, especially during the past 2 years. It hasn't been easy, and we have overcome a lot and still have more to overcome, but it makes it a little easier knowing that you have multitudes supporting you and caring for your well-being. Thank you.
Thank you.
I, Rachel Murray, do solemnly swear
I, Rachel Murray, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Minnesota,
and in the state of Minnesota,
and faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of police sergeant
of the office of police sergeant
in the city of Maplewood,
in the city of Maplewood,
in the county of Ramsey,
in the county of Ramsey,
and the state of Minnesota,
in the state of Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
I will never betray my badge, my integrity,
I will never betray my badge or integrity,
my character, or the public trust.
my character, or the public trust.
I will always have the courage
I will always have the courage
to hold myself and others
to hold myself and others
accountable for our actions.
accountable for our actions.
Congratulations.
Last but certainly not least, Badge 339, took over November 2021. This is Sergeant Brian Tozel. He's a guy that I think probably has the most life-saving awards in the agency. He really takes care of his troops. We served in the SWAT team together, and anytime there's a critical incident, this is the guy you're going to want to look to be the guy on scene. So definitely appreciate him out there when the nights, I can sleep better knowing he's out there. So I'm going to say a few words.
Thank you, Chief Beardman. Thank you, Mayor Abrams, City Manager Coleman, and members of council. And thank you all for this opportunity. I've worked in the city of Maplewood as a police officer since 2009, and I know firsthand the importance of quality leadership. It will be my goal to continue that legacy as a leader in this department, to be someone that officers from Maplewood can look up to, and also a sergeant that officers and deputies from other agencies can come to for help. I don't know if it's a benefit or a hindrance being the last one up here, but most everything has already been said. So I might cut a little bit out here and make it a little shorter. As I said, I've been with the city for over 13 years. In that time, I've had the opportunity to experience many sides of this department. I have been a member of the Ramsey County SWAT team, an FTO. I am currently the Use of Force Training Coordinator and a member of the Ramsey County Violent Crimes Enforcement Team as an investigator. Throughout that time, I have had the opportunity to work for many different supervisors, some good and some not so good. I hope that time I have gathered the best attributes from each of them, though, to build myself into a better sergeant. My goal with becoming a sergeant is to ensure that all officers in this department are provided the best training in all facets of the job so that they can be excellent officers. Along with that, I hope to ensure officers lead both a healthy physical and mental lifestyle so that they can have a long and enjoyable career here. I think we all know that policing is difficult right now. As Sergeant Fritzie said, the job hasn't changed too much. It has changed. And though it may be difficult, I can say with certainty that we have a city council and mayor and an administration that supports us more than ever before. We also have an administration that works with us, not ahead of us. And I have seen the current chief, deputy chief, and lieutenants on more calls in the last 6 months than the previous 6 years. I hope to have a long career with the city of Maplewood and look forward to this promotion. Again, thank you all for this opportunity.
I, Brian Tozel, do solemnly swear
I, Brian Tozel, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Minnesota,
and of the state of Minnesota,
and faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Police Sergeant
of the office of Police Sergeant
in the city of Maplewood,
in the city of Maplewood,
in the county of Ramsey,
in the county of Ramsey,
and the state of Minnesota,
and the state of Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
I will never betray my badge, my integrity,
I will never betray my badge or my integrity,
my character, or the public trust.
my character, or the public trust.
I will always have the courage
I will always have the courage
to hold myself and others
to hold myself and others
accountable for our actions.
accountable for our actions.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
If we could just have the four sergeants stand briefly. I just want to thank you for what you guys do for the officers and for the community. So one more time.
Yeah, let's do a picture.
Photo.
Nice shot, nice shot. Awesome.
All right, we are back to our agenda. Those swearing-ins are some of my favorite times in the council. Councilmember Cave made a comment that it feels just like family, and it really does. It's wonderful to see the kids and everyone, and we're so proud of our officers. So thank you. And now we are going on to the rest of our agenda. Sorry, Lois, you have to follow up on that.
I have a video.
Oh, you do? Okay, that's good.
I do.
We'll need that because now we're moving on to the strategic plan update for the first quarter. And we have Lois Knutson to present to us tonight. Thank you.
All right. How do we, okay, there we go. All right, good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. As the Mayor said, I'm Lois Knutson. I am the Administrative Services and Performance Measurement Coordinator for the city. So part of my job is reporting on the strategic plan. I kind of keep everybody in line and then report to you quarterly on what's going on. So this is the report for the first quarter of 2022. As you can see on the chart, we're at 38% progress. That might be a little misleading because we're only a fourth of the way through the year. But what happens is there are some measures that are annual measures. So on those things, if we're on track, we're at 25%. If it's an ongoing measure, like a project we're working on, that could take multiple years. So that's how we are at 38% right now. We have approximately 4.5% of items that have disruption. There's really only one with a major disruption right now, which is pretty good, a lot better than we've been the last few quarters. And that is that the fire department has an initiative to conduct home safety visits in 25% of manufactured housing communities. That still remains on hold because of COVID, but they're hoping to get that started this summer. A couple minor disruptions we have. The Park and Natural Resources Department applied for a grant to help us get electric charging stations around the city, more of them, and that was denied, so we're looking at other methods of funding that. And then the police department are still trying to hire a crime analyst, and as part of our rental housing project, we are requiring that all property managers can go to some crime-free training, and that has also been on hold because of COVID. So I'm quickly going to go through the strategic priorities and just highlight a few things. Mostly I'm highlighting changes because what's happened in the first quarter here is after we made some changes to our strategic priorities, then I met with all of the departments and we have made a few tweaks and changes of what things they're tracking. And some have added some new ones, gotten rid of some others, but we're just going to look at some of those changes. Community inclusiveness is first, and one of our major initiatives is to ensure that our staff get out in the community and volunteer at events. And there are several events coming up this summer, including National Night Out, Celebrate Summer events, and the Boo Bash. And we have been working with Common Sense Consulting on our DEI initiatives, and one of the things we're doing with them is programming with staff. They're doing training of staff. Some of our staff have already done it. The LEAD Academy participants have done it 2 years in a row now. And then the DMV and city clerk staff have also taken part in the training. So next step is to get more of our employees trained on that. The goal is to have everyone complete that training. And then Common Sense Consulting is also assisting us with revising the performance measures that fall under community inclusiveness. So those measures haven't really been tweaked yet, and we will be working more on that. One that did get added was the fire department has added a measure where they want to instill community voice in their department initiatives. So that's something that's upcoming and should have good results, I think. And then we have our new strategic priority of environmental stewardship. And what we did here was we took some existing key outcomes and parts of our plan and migrated them here. Those two key outcomes are the natural resources are managed to ensure high ecological quality and long-term sustainability, and city parks, trails, and open spaces are well-maintained, accessible, and meet the changing needs of the community. And then we added a new key outcome, and that is that Maplewood will be a leader in preserving and advocating for a healthy and sustainable environment. And some of the measures under there already existed, like our Green Step Cities. We are at Green Step City level 5, and we just have to keep reporting on that and completing certain things to maintain that level. So that's one of the things under there. And then another one is our climate adaptation plan. So lots of new exciting things coming under environmental stewardship. Okay, then we had two other priorities that we combined. We took infrastructure and asset management and financial sustainability, and we combined those, and we renamed that financial and asset management. We've added a few new performance measures under that. One of those decided by the finance department is to try to achieve the GFOA Triple Crown Award. And we do get some GFOA classifications and other things, and this is like a step above. It might take a little more work from our finance staff, but it's something we want to try to achieve. We're also going to work on developing a facilities maintenance plan, and that will be to help us with all of our city buildings, help us to kind of get a plan in place in case things go wrong. How are we going to deal with it when things go wrong? So just kind of put that down on paper and start looking ahead to the future. And then this year there are 3 street improvement projects, and they total.
Can I just ask one question while we're here? That way we won't.
Absolutely.
I won't have to go back and remember. How is the facilities maintenance plan different than the asset management plan that we currently have? Because now we know, I mean, we've gone through and looked at all of our assets.
I will defer to Mr. Love.
Okay. Mr. Love, how is it different?
Mayor and Council, it's actually a growth of our asset management plan. So we had I can't quite remember the year now. It was quite a few years ago. We had a company come in and help us rate all our programs. Our idea is, rather than continuing to work off that one snapshot in time, is have a reoccurring regular inspection program so that we're making informed decisions about which asset, what improvements need to be made with our facilities.
So it sounds like it's a deeper dive?
It is a deeper dive.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. And then integrated communication. We've done a lot with videos lately, and the communications department really wants to strive to feature all departments in social media stories. We do a really good job. Police and Fire, Parks and Rec does pretty well with that. But the other departments, we want to try to highlight some things that everybody's working on. And then also a kind of a collaboration between the Community Development Department and our communications staff. And they want to try to start working on a marketing plan as new developments come up throughout Maplewood, to just try to have a plan of how to get that out to the public. There's another new measure also of using outreach events to strengthen ties between diverse community members and businesses. Operational effectiveness. This kind of covers a gamut of things, but some of the things we're concentrating on right now are working to streamline our recruiting efforts, as recruiting is very difficult at this time, not just for Maplewood, but for all cities. And then we're starting an ambassador program, and that is to assist with onboarding. And so new employees, new recent hires will be paired with an ambassador to help them learn things about the city. There'll be a couple days where they go through some training, do some tours, but most of all is that one-on-one connection with a current staff person to help them have somebody to go to with all of their questions. The code complaint process has been updated, and health inspections. They are working on getting an electronic system to conduct and track those inspections, where that has all been done on paper and like Excel spreadsheets up to this point. Targeted redevelopment. We're actively working with the developer on a multifamily housing development in the North End. And then another goal is to create a scattered site housing program. You heard about that in the workshop today. And then multiple housing projects are in the development stage for adding affordable housing units to the city. The goal right now is to have 510 additional units by 2028. So with all the projects and developments coming, that we're probably on track to accomplish that. Okay, what's ahead? Again, we need to work on establishing a mission statement and values for the strategic plan. So when we get a date set for a retreat, that will probably be one of the topics at that retreat. We will be applying for the ICMA Certificates in Performance Management for 2022. We got the lowest level of that last year for the first time, and we will be working again to apply for that and hopefully maybe get the next higher level. There are 3 levels of distinction you can achieve. And then we have a strategic planning video that was created in 2019. So with changes to the strategic priorities and some staffing changes, we, mostly Kevin Schmitz, worked hard, and we put together a new video for the strategic plan, and we are going to premiere that right now. There, it's on the bottom. There's not a slide.
It's our roadmap on where our city is headed.
Welcome to Maplewood.
It keeps us on track right here.
It gives everybody a place at the table.
If we don't have a blueprint, we would be trying to do everything at once, and we simply can't do that.
Making sure that the things we are asking for, the things we are spending money on, the policies we're changing, are reflective of our strategic priorities. The strategic priorities are the issues that the council has identified as being the most important things they see for our city to accomplish.
And then it's up to staff to develop those plans and strategic objectives and actual tasks.
biggest thing for me is involve your staff early in this process, not just your upper management staff, but staff at different levels.
Being able to sit down in small groups and having an outline and then being able to offer your input is really beneficial.
I feel like I really have a voice in how we are changing the department and making it a better place.
Every day, everybody comes in and they have a playbook to go by.
We're here to listen to the residents, and we're here to provide services for the residents.
It's really nice to be able to have that positive engagement with the residents. We have an understanding of what we're doing and why we're doing it, and it makes them feel good about their tax dollars hard at work.
We want to be totally transparent on what we're doing and how we're doing, and frankly, we do pretty well.
Members of the community can see what the city is doing, what progress we're making, because we have a dashboard on the city's website that they can click on and see what progress is being made on our strategic priorities.
That allows us to tell our story to the council and to the community that we're taking good care and being good stewards of their resources.
I think it means everything to our community that they can trust that their elected officials are making the very best decisions, that they are transparent, that there is a foundation for them, that they are part of the strategic goals that we've set for our city, and we know exactly what it is that we're accomplishing.
In a quick snapshot lets you see where we are, how we're doing, and also not being afraid of showing that there is a delay. Sometimes delays are inevitable, they happen, but at least we're communicating that to our residents.
It's really cool to see how they empower us to be able to communicate about those things and to be able to support making Maplewood a better place.
I think it brings the community into the decision-making of the city.
Even though it seems like it's something that is only applying to the council and maybe the department heads, it affects everybody, and everybody needs to be aware of it and be a part of it. Big thank you to Kevin. He did
Thank
a
you,
great
Kevin.
job. Well, I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Lois, thank you for that presentation. I always marvel at the fact that we are so detailed about where it is that we're going, what it is that we're doing, and how we're going to get there. So thank you very much for that. Oh, City Manager Coleman.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I just wanted to add that one of the reasons we make this video is for our new employees. So every new employee that comes in, they right up front, first day on the job or before they even get here, they've seen this video and know that we have a strategic plan.
It was a great video. Thank you, Kevin, again. So any questions for Lois? Okay, thank you, Lois, very much.
All right.
Much
Do you
appreciated.
need to make a motion to?
Oh, do we need to? Yes, there's a motion to adopt it. Okay. Would a council member like to make that?
I move adoption of the resolution to accept the first quarter update of the strategic plan.
Second. Seconded by Cave, the motion to accept the strategic plan report for first quarter of 2022. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Great. Okay, thank you. And we're moving on to the resolution of appreciation for Headsey Commissioner Daryl Henshin. Mr. Thompson, this is yours.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So Daryl Henshin was appointed to the Housing and Economic Development Commission back in 2019, and he recently informed us he's moved out of Maplewood and therefore is resigning his position on Headsey, effective right now. So we are recommending a resolution of appreciation for Mr. Henshin. It was reviewed by the Headsey Commission. They certainly recommended adoption of it, recognizing that his role, both as an attorney but also working for Minnesota Housing as a profession, were a valuable perspective to have on Headsey. We missed as we developed some of the housing programs in Maplewood. So staff has drafted the resolution. We recommend its adoption for the recognition of Daryl.
Thank you very much. Council members, would someone like to make the motion?
I move the resolution of appreciation for Headsey Commissioner Dale Henshin.
Second.
Moved by Juniman, seconded by Knutson, the motion to adopt the resolution of appreciation for Daryl Henshin. Is there any further discussion?
How come he didn't ask us if he could move? We need him.
We don't get to do that. Is there any other discussion other than we lost a good commissioner? Hearing none, then let's go to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. I always do appreciate our commissioners and the work that they do. So, next, moving on, we have a presentation from Parks and Recreation on their commission annual report. We have Terry Mallett, who is the chair of our Parks and Rec Commission. Welcome and thank you. And thank you for your service, too.
Good evening, Mayor Abrams, Melinda Coleman, manager, and council members. I have been a member since 2013, and with COVID, it's been a little different the last few years for Parks and Rec, or Parks and Natural Resources. The highlights of our project for 2021, we did the Nature Center. We did a lot of improvements now. We have some pictures there if you have that, and then the Vista Hills improvements with the basketball courts, and the prior preserve improvements. Our council has 7 members: Craig Brannon, Terry Millette, myself, Karen Papa, Kimmy Porter, Vicki Lee Herr, Monica Barton, Mark Harris, and now we have 6. So we are looking for one more. Karen has let us know that she will not be renewing hers, so we do have to put that out there again. Some of the department changes and challenges the past year involved were some significant changes to the Park and Recreation Department with a renewed focus on parks, trails, open space, environmental initiative. The Parks Recreation Department became the Parks and Natural Resource Department. So now we have Audra, Neil, Sean, and Carol working over at the Maplewood Nature Center, so that's new. The 2021 goals and accomplishments, they're all there for you. Number 1, continue to implement the outcomes of the Parks and the Recreation System Master Plan, stay on top of the park improvements. We want to continue to find new ways to engage the residents of the Maplewood community process, offer special events and programming at a variety of parks, and make arts and culture a priority, ensure we meet the programming needs of the actively aging community, and offer exclusive wellness-based activities in our parks, hold a meeting dedicated to review the implementation progress of the Nature Center Programming Task Force recommendations and receive regular updates as well, value the youth perspective, recruit, appoint a student PRC member, which we haven't been able to do with COVID, so hopefully now we can go back to that, receive an annual update from the MCC, YMCA, community groups and partners, and look for ways that we can work together. That's one of our main goals, I think, right now is what we really want to do. Hold a meeting dedicated to connectivity and trails and explore the idea of consistent signages that utilize technology in our parks. And the accomplishments we did are down below. The Nature Center reopened with staff on site. We completed the Nature Center trail improvements. We were able to have the 4th of July fireworks. We renewed partnership with Urban Roots at Harvest Park. We got a grant funding for EAB tree replanting, the annual tree sale, completed priory preserve improvements, field rentals and building shelter rentals at full capacity, Nature Center and Recreation Task Force recommendations implemented, completed the Vista Hills tennis and basketball courts, worked with Eagle Scouts to add Gaga pits to the park, and I see they've been used a lot. Both parks I've seen them at have been used quite a bit. In addition, the Parks and the Recreation Commission weighed in on the general department updates. And then the 2022 Parks and Recreation goals, we want to continue to implement the outcomes of the park and the recreation system plan and stay on top of park improvement plans. We want to continue to find new ways to engage the residents in Maplewood community process, offer special events and programs at a variety of parks, and make arts and culture a priority, ensure we meet the programming needs of the actively aging community and offer inclusive wellness-based activities in our park, hold a meeting dedicated to review the implementation progress of the Nature Center prior programming task force recommendations, and receive regular updates as well. Value the youth perspective and recruit and appoint a student PRC member. We want to receive a quarterly update from the MCC, YMCA, as well as updates from community groups and partners to look for ways that we can work together. And we've been starting to do that now more and more. Hold a meeting dedicated to connectivity and trails, explore the idea of consistent signage that utilizes technology in our parks, and explore the idea of offering recreational programs in the future through the Parks and Natural Resources. And we've done like the park cleanup. There's been some events at the Nature Center now, so we're starting to get back in. There was an awesome Easter egg hunt this year. That was really good. There's Touch a Truck is coming up. We have the 4th of July coming up. So we're getting back in the swing of things. So COVID hopefully is behind us from now on. I hope you'll accept our report at this time.
Thank you, Terry, and thank you for all the work that Parks and Rec does for our city. In thinking about COVID and how it impacted absolutely everybody. But if I were to look at our departments, Parks and Rec was probably one of the hardest hit.
Yes.
Because that relies so much on community and people getting together, and people couldn't get together. But we still had park maintenance going on, and you still were able to accomplish so much, even though for that time period we couldn't get together.
Right.
So, please thank all of the commissioners, because that was a really rough time for everyone. But I think Parks and Rec got hit hardest. And I also think, in looking back and talking with neighbors and community members, the fact that they could go to a park and walk around a park during the pandemic was really a very, it was a highlight for so many people. They couldn't be together, but at least, it was a family out there together, but they couldn't be with their other neighbors or friends. But they still had our parks and our trails, and that was really,
And
it
they
was
were
it was a
packed.
blessing for
They
so many.
were very packed,
They
yes.
were very packed,
Yeah.
you're right, and it was really nice to see. So thank you all very much. Is there anyone else that has any comments or questions? I don't see any lights on. Councilmember Villavicencio.
Thanks, Mayor. Terry, it's so good to see you. Thanks for the update. Just on Mother's Day, I had a couple ladies come up to me and tell me how they so much appreciated that even though during COVID, they were able to go to the parks, and they actually did the geocoding adventure, and they just really appreciated just the depth of our parks, and they didn't even realize, they've lived in Maplewood for a while, they didn't even realize how many little parks are just all over, and they just really enjoyed it. So, and thank you for all your service, and happy Mother's Day, Terry.
Thank you.
Council members, is there a motion?
I move to approve the 2021 Parks and Recreation Commission Annual Report.
Friendly amendment 2022?
Well, actually, it's
Oh, wait,
2021.
this says 2021.
I corrected it.
It's the 2022 report?
No,
2021 report.
Well, the motion in here says 2022.
but I changed it.
Okay.
I'm ahead of you.
Just a point of correct. Which year are we approving? We want to get this right. We're approving the 2021. Thank you. Okay. Any motion made by Councilmember Juniman? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Cave. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you very much. Moving on to our Environmental and Natural Resources Commission Annual Report. And for that, we have Rebecca Bryan, our Environmental and Natural Resources Commission Vice Chair. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. It's very nice to be here. And so, yes, I am here to present the Environmental and Natural Resources Annual Report, which also includes our 2022 Commission goals. So the Environmental and Natural Resources Commission provides recommendations to the Community Design Review Board, Planning Commission, and City Council on changes necessary to existing places, operating procedures, and ordinances that control, protect, preserve, enhance the city's environmental assets. And so the Commission works closely with the Parks and Natural Resources Department to implement the mission of the department. And we have 7 members, so Emma Brodnax, myself, Kayla Dozer, Benjamin Gill, Molly Miller, and Pauser, and Ted Redmond. So in 2021, our priority was the completion of the city's climate adaptation plan, which was approved by the City Council in May of 2021. The plan prepares the city and partners for challenges and vulnerabilities associated with our changing climate. The Environmental Natural Resources Commission is identified in the plan as the main citizen body in place to protect in place to support implementation, The 2040 Comprehensive Plan outlines the next step in climate action planning to be the development of a climate mitigation plan to guide the city and its partners towards reduced greenhouse gas emissions. The commission completed updates to the Mississippi River Critical Area, MRCCA, and Slope Ordinance. And so the city was required to amend the MRCCA ordinance to be consistent with new state rules, and updated the Slope Ordinance to be consistent with the new MRCCA ordinance and amendments. The City Council adopted the ordinance in October of 2021, and the Department of Natural Resources approved the ordinance soon after. Another accomplishment in 2021 was our participation in the Soul Smart program, and we were awarded the silver level for removing barriers and encouraging solar use within our community. The Soul Smart advisors offered feedback on the solar portion of the city's 2011 renewable energy ordinance. The commission is recommending amendments to the ordinance based on that feedback. The renewable energy ordinance amendments are scheduled to go to the City Council in spring of 2022, and I believe, let's look at my notes here, but we sent that in March of 2022, I believe. And then our 2022 environmental priorities, we have climate action planning items outlined in the city's climate adaptation plan, including climate mitigation planning pending an MPCA grant. We do believe that grant has been denied by the MPCA, so we will be working on finding additional sources for that. Study to identify the financial mechanisms that will assist the city with the implementation of climate adaptation and mitigation goals. Climate action engagement, support the city's climate action programs through 2022. Review climate adaptation plan implementation progress. Review and report on climate adaptation plan implementation progress in the ENR Commission annual reports. And we also continue to adopt the recommendations developed by the Maplewood Nature Center Task Force. And the Environmental and Natural Resources Commission will support upcoming programs and volunteer opportunities at the Nature Center and nature preserves. Also, supporting community garden and urban agriculture. The Environmental and Natural Resources will support upcoming programs and volunteer opportunities at the Edgerton Community Garden and Harvest Park Native Seed Garden. Other items that we have are working with solid waste and sustainability. So the Environmental and Natural Resources Commission also assists with the city's solid waste programs and sustainability initiatives. And so some highlights of that within 2021 are the spring cleanups. Due to COVID, there have been record turnout of citizens coming to drop off items for cleanup days, and these are materials that are being diverted away from our solid waste landfills and going towards different opportunities for reuse. And so this upcoming 2022 spring cleanup is scheduled for May 21st. And then Maplewood has been awarded the Step 5 Green Step Cities Award in June for advancing in 13 sustainability best practices. As an example, from 2019 to 2020, Maplewood reduced greenhouse gas emissions from travel, waste, and buildings. This year's metrics will be reviewed by the MPCA, and the city will likely be awarded the Step 5 award again at the League of Minnesota Cities Conference in June. So there's a lot going on, and look forward to continuing to work and provide stewardship of our environmental resources here in Maplewood. Thank you.
Thank you. Council members, any questions? Okay, thank you for that report. We really appreciate it, and thank you to you and all the commissioners. You do very important work for the city. Council members, we have a motion. Would someone like to make it?
I move approval and acceptance of the Environmental and Natural Resources Commission annual report.
Second. Moved by Juniman, seconded by Villavicencio, the motion to approve the 2021 Environmental and Natural Resources Commission annual report. Any further discussion? Hearing none, then let's go to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. We have one more agenda item. We have the update on Emma's Place that council members asked for. And Chief Beardeman, this is your topic. Are you presenting or?
Thank you, Mayor. So, yeah, as you recall, in January, we set up a meeting with Emma's Place staff, management, as well as some board members. We gave a Zoom presentation. Ashley Bergeron gave a Zoom presentation to let you guys know some of the data that we had discovered as far as the drain on some of the resources the police department has had. At that point, after the meeting, council had asked that we come back. As you know, call volume tends to go up in the summer, so there was some concern that call volume would go up. So prior to the summer starting, council had asked that we come back and give an update on where we were with the data. So I have Lieutenant Mike Dugas and recently promoted Detective Ashley Bergeron that are going to run you through some of the data, and certainly will stand for questions when they're complete.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Thank you very much for inviting us back to discuss further the changing environment regarding Emma's Place. As you'll recall, we presented in February of the detailed and sustained problems going on at Emma's Place. At that time, we were asked for an update prior to summer, and that's what we're here to do. The data that we're going to be talking about today comes from the exact same sources and was data mined the same way as the previous presentation, so the information is comparable back and forth. Let's start with targeted addresses. Obviously, Emma's Place has had a significant impact with our business community. These are the top 10 locations that have experienced the most problems with Emma's Place. As we look at the February information, you can see that the calls for service at these locations are significantly generated by primarily juveniles from Emma's Place, with CVS having over 25% of their total calls directly related to it. As we look over the past few months, you'll see that that trend continues, significantly more so at the Y, where over half of all their calls for service are directly related to the juveniles at Emma's Place. Those calls for service continue to increase. Significant concern is the event at New Horizon, where juveniles produced a replica firearm and were pointing it at children and staff members there. A similar incident happened at PetSmart, where replica guns were pointed at customers in and around the store. Obviously, that poses a great risk not only to the juveniles doing it, the community at large, but also to responding law enforcement officers. Calls for service in the neighborhood as of April 20th had decreased, which was good to see. However, I am sad to report that over the weekend that has changed with harassment and disorderly conducts being committed by the juveniles in the community just north of Emma's Place. When we look at just calls for service for the physical addresses, you can see that it continues on an upward trajectory, and that upward trajectory is continuing. As you can see, we have 6 years of data month by month, and this year, January and February, were over double what any of the previous years were. So we're very concerned about that trend moving forward. Nuisance violations. Out of the 29 nuisance violations the city of Maplewood has issued this year, 12 have been to Emma's Place. This morning, they received 3 more and 3 more bills for theft, disorderly conduct, and harassment issues, all in and around the community, including the YMCA and the neighborhoods to the north. When we start really breaking down the issues at Emma's Place, there are 3 specific units that are driving the majority of the problems. Because this is an open forum, we're not going to specifically say what units. We've just labeled them A, B, and C, just so that you guys can understand exactly what we're seeing. So as you can see, when we look at the nuisance violations, they're primarily just those 3 units. And the 3 that were issued today are also associated with those 3 units. The nuisance violations that we've issued for include theft, disorderly conduct, firearms-related trespass, things of that nature that we view as adversely affecting the community. The multi-housing officer also has a responsibility to inform on the crime-free, drug-free lease addendums. The crime-free, drug-free lease addendums are a powerful tool we have, especially when it comes to rental licensing. And for just about every multi-housing complex in the city of Maplewood, a single violation of that is almost immediate eviction. Also with that, you'll notice that crime-free, drug-free. We've noticed that Emma's Place has changed their philosophy into a harm reduction model versus a programming model that was previously employed. And right on their website, they state that drug use is tolerated within their facility. When we look at the lease violations that have occurred this year, out of the 6, 4 have gone to Emma's Place. At this time, they have failed to evict anyone associated with any one of these. We did provide an overview of the lease violations that have been sent and when they were sent. When they were sent, we were still receiving some cooperation from Ethan Allen, the on-site manager. That has since gone away since the incident with the detention of the juveniles. They're no longer willing to partner with us or provide us information. We still continue to reach out and provide them statistics regarding the lease violations, regarding the nuisance calls, and all calls for service at the property. We also continue to reach out to them for community engagement events, which they are not interested in partnering with us at this time. Of the 48 calls for service since we've last met, 13 of them were proactive police visits with our officers trying to engage with the residents at the location, and 11 were case follow-ups where the crimes were committed elsewhere, and officers are now following up on those crimes at the location. And obviously, the numbers were pulled on April 20th to give you an idea. So, are there any questions from any of the council members?
I'm sure we're going to have some questions and some discussion. I thought, before we go to questions, I thought I would update the council on some of the information and background information that I have. I sent my last email to Emma's Place was on April 26th. And in that email, I congratulated Emma's Place. I don't know if council members are aware of this. If you recall back earlier, I think it was either March or April, the council signed a letter of support to Emma's Place for, they were requesting a grant of $250,000 to conduct some work in their community room, and they needed the council's approval. We unanimously voted to recommend that to the county, and they did receive the grant for $250,000, so that was good news. I also met with Tanya Brownlow, the executive director, and in this email that I sent to her on April 26th, I had committed to doing several different things. I had committed to contacting John Choi for his help. John Choi, he was here just at our last council meeting. And speaking with John Choi about the increased calls for service and the concerns that we have as a community, asking for John Choi's help and suggestions, and John Choi committed to assigning a full-time county navigator to Emma's Place to help curb these calls, this increase in calls for service. You know, certainly we're in a time right now where we're looking at summer break from school is almost upon us. And we know from the presentation that Emma's Place made that they have what they're calling their Safe Summer program. And I had invited Tanya to come tonight to present, and Tanya indicated that she was not available. I asked for if there was anyone else from Emma's Place, or maybe they wanted to submit something in writing to us. Please advise us about your Safe Summer program so that maybe we can partner with you on some of the initiatives. I did learn that there was a meeting that Emma's Place staff had with the parents that live at Emma's Place, and that occurred on May 4th. But I have not seen anything, and despite the fact I've requested a copy of their Safe Summer program on what does that look like and how can we work with you on it? I also reached out and spoke with a representative from the Circle of Peace, which is a nonprofit that they conduct healing conversations in communities. They have done an awful lot of work with the city of St. Paul. They've partnered with the St. Paul Police Department with Chief Axtell and really done quite a bit of community healing. And I reached out to Circle of Peace thinking that because we have there is a long-standing history here that may be a good alternative for Emma's Place residents and our business owners to meet together and start trying to work together. I also offered to Emma's Place contacts with our embedded social worker so that the embedded social worker who is aware, Ramsey County, she's aware of both of our social workers are aware of juvenile programs in Ramsey County, specifically focused at juveniles. And so I offered to connect Emma's Place staff and the social worker, and that, I don't know that has happened. It didn't happen through me. Has it happened? You look like you're smiling.
Yes. So despite the lack of partnership currently with Emma's Place, we're still proceeding with developing those partnerships. Our embedded social worker supervisor from Ramsey County, Jessica Kisslinger, she actually is a former partner with Ethan Allen over at Emma's Place. So she has been reaching out, making connections, and is trying to bridge that gap.
Good.
And start to rebuild those roads. And Chief Beardeman and I met with County Attorney Choi on Friday and had a long conversation regarding the issues surrounding that and how we can best address them as well. So both of those things are happening.
Okay, that's good. Let's see. As I indicated, there was no reply from Emma's Place, and obviously they didn't send anyone to present tonight. I can tell you that our community is seeing the impact. For anyone who goes over to the Y, you'll recognize that because of the increased crime over at the Y, what they have done is they have closed the upper doors starting at 2:30 in the afternoon until closing. You can no longer enter there because that's where the kids were entering and then vandalizing and stealing and such. And so that the Y is responding in that manner. So there is an impact, and there's an impact on people who come to our businesses. There's an impact on our small business owners. And so this really is an issue that we need to get a better handle on. You know, summer break is almost here. And this just is not, you know, I'm very disappointed that Emma's Place isn't here, that they're not trying to partner more with us to try to do some problem solving. My next thought is that I am going to be communicating with the board of directors at Emma's Place and asking to be invited to present at Emma's Place at their next board meeting because we need to address this. I'm very concerned. The last time now Detective Bergeron, thank you, I'll get that right, she presented the numbers from last summer were pretty frightening numbers. And I'm very concerned about what's going to happen when school break is on. And so we need to be able to tackle this and try to partner with Emma's Place as a community. And so that, council members, is going to be my next approach. I'm going to be talking to the board of directors. So I don't know, I didn't watch whose light was first. Councilmember Knudsen, I think you were first.
Thank you. I appreciate this. I'm just wondering, you know, from the previous presentation and this presentation, I mean, some of these are serious crimes, felonies to a great extent. So of how many actual juveniles are involved? Is it the same people or is it?
Yep. So on that previous slide, it showed 3 different units kind of being the problem units that were listed A, B, and C. And those are the ones that we continue to see violating the lease addendums, the nuisance violations, all of that. So it's, I would say, grand total, maybe, 10, 15 kids. But it's always the same units.
And then, as maybe rhetorical, but why are they still able to function freely?
We have had conversations with County Attorney Choi's office regarding that. And we are working on partnering with his office to increase prosecution rates.
Yeah, I guess the pattern is here.
Right, so
Somehow or
of
other,
the-
whether it's the social worker, police visits, or something more severe,
Right,
something
and-
has to happen, and, there's just, it's sad, it's horrible, but there just doesn't seem to be any other course, to me anyway.
Yeah, what we're finding is that a lot of the county attorney's office is hesitant to enter juveniles into the juvenile justice system, which is perfectly appropriate. We don't want children in the system that don't have to be by any stretch of the imagination. What we're seeing is then deferrals to the parents. Unfortunately, the parents lack the ability or resources to correct the issue themselves. So partnering with Troy's office, hopefully we're going to have more structured programming to correct some of those issues moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Juniman was next, maybe? Okay.
You can't talk to the board fast enough, as far as I'm concerned. I'm hoping that the board is not aware of all the things that have been going on over there. Because if they are, the problem is much bigger than what I thought it was initially. But I'm sorry, as of tonight, I do not understand an executive director who can't make time to respond. That's the whole problem. No one over there has an appreciation of life has limitations. And, oh, yes, there's consequences for serious actions. And she's made it quite clear she doesn't intend to make any. So somewhere along the line, her direction over there has to come into question. She's the executive director. That's why you have one. Otherwise, they may as well just live on their own, and the free-for-all probably wouldn't be any worse. I'm not a real patient person to begin with, but let me tell you, when it's gone, it's gone. And my patience with that place, and part of it's my long memory from back when they came and they had an executive director who knew what consequences had to be for people. And her whole goal was to help in those kids' lives. I don't see anybody caring about those kids over there. All the care seems to be on this side of the street. And that won't happen. It can't come to fruition if they don't want to grab onto it. So my question to the board is, what are you going to do about the direction of the place? I don't
will ask
really.
the board that.
Yes, because they can talk about, well, we didn't know that, and we'll have to make some changes. It's like, no, honey, you need to make big changes, because the place cannot stay the way it is. And not one kid that is there right now, can you tell me, is getting anything positive in his or her life? That ain't possible with somebody like that there. And all I think about is, when I saw the 3 units, I thought, this is exactly what I feared. You can't tell me there aren't parents and other kids over there who aren't terrified of the felons that are allowed to run free. So then the whole place has no value for anyone. And I think, I'm sorry, but if that board has been kept in the dark, somebody over there who doesn't have any responsibility is intentionally defrauding the board. And I don't want to be a party to that. We know that that's happening. So from the city standpoint, I don't want to be a part of that. They either get somebody in charge of the place who wants to put it back on course, where the kids are helped instead of let run free, or as far as I'm concerned, the new location in the Ford Parkway development can enlarge. I'll help them move. Because nothing of the original goal is being accomplished. And if anyone from the board or the director uses the word traumatized to me one more time, I will exemplify for them what trauma can look like. Trauma is not an excuse to live like that. And like I said, 3 units, what about the kids living in the other 10 units? What kind of a life is that? If that was going on in my neighborhood, it would be over by now. Because kids in 10 houses have a right to a life, and it shouldn't be taken away by the other individuals in the other 3 units. And somehow, I think it's beyond the control of the person in charge. So part of our mission has to be to get somebody in charge that can give those kids what they need. Otherwise, they can pray all they want and throw all the money they want at it. It's never going to be anything what it is now. And it's not an asset in this community anymore, and it makes me sad because it was an asset when it came, but it certainly isn't anymore.
Thank you, Councilmember Juniman. Councilmember Cave.
Just a couple comments to finish up. Thank you guys for your reporting, and thank you, Police Chief, and all the work that you guys have done in this community. I'm talking all of Maplewood. Citizens here want to feel safe, but not only do we want to protect the citizens and business owners, I also want to protect the police officers.
Thank you.
And I think you guys are in a dangerous situation too every day, and this whole dealing with the juveniles is definitely out of control. And it's not anything you guys have, amped up, and our council has been working on this for a long time. We started some progress, I believe, back when, and it just seemed to, dead end. And I think the mayor and police chief, you guys are doing a great job trying to keep engagement going. I just have one question. I don't know if it's for our city attorney or not, but the lease violation, how enforceable is that? And how can the city do any enforcement on that, as like a code enforcement?
Mayor, members of the council, I believe the way the lease addendum works is that it is something that the city would be able to use, particularly if there's repeat nuisance violations, which is what it sounds like is happening here. Okay. As far as the specific instances that are being discussed today, my recommendation would be that staff work with our office on figuring out exactly how that would work, and particularly how the crime-free lease addendum would be used to, respond to the repeat nuisance violations. But my understanding is that is how that generally works, and that it's a tool to use.
Okay. So is that something we can look into? Okay.
That's something we can look into. Thank you. Councilmember Villavicencio.
Thank you for your report. I really appreciate it. I think I'm really disappointed myself that the communication has stopped. So I really appreciate you, Mayor, and your leadership and going to the board, because I support that 100%. The thing that I had heard when the CEO was here is that, when we asked what are you going to do with the county money, the thing that stood out, what she said, was something about college prep, and that told me right there that her level of understanding of what the youth in this particular area is not, she doesn't understand what they really, really need. And I just get really worried anytime people stop communicating with each other, because then you're not wanting to come to the table and come up with a solution. And why wouldn't you, right? You don't have to agree with us in order for us to come to a solution together. And I also feel like Councilmember Juniman, that the biggest thing that is really heavy on my heart is just the wholeness of the kids, the youth themselves, and they're not getting any of the treatment that they want and need. And so therefore the ones that are not making any issues, they probably feel like they don't belong here, and that's the last thing that I surely want. So thank you, Mayor, for your leadership on this, and please keep us in contact with what goes on with all of that, all parties. Thank you.
Thank you. My goal also is that I will be in communication with Ms. Brownlow and ask for a written copy of their Safe Summer report, so that I will share that with everyone when I get a copy, and City Manager Coleman will send that out to the council, but I'll certainly share it with our public safety director as well, because that's important. We really need to have a plan. Last summer it was a really sad time. because the numbers, the calls for service were so high. And I remember one of the meetings that I sat in on with Emma's Place and with our businesses, and I remember Detective Bergeron, then Officer Bergeron was there, and Officer Burt McGregor was there, and the point that was made, I think the number 650 calls for service sticks in my mind, and what that represents is 650 residents, business patrons, people who were coming to our small businesses, business owners. It represents 650 community members that had a call for service that originated because of some juveniles from Emma's Place, and that just is not acceptable for our community. I have a very big concern. I've expressed this since I met with Emma's Place and our businesses last summer, that we can't let this keep going on. Someone is going to get hurt. There's going to be a tragedy, and we really need to see what we can do to try to help. So I will try to get the Safe Summer report, and I will also reach out and indicate that I would like to make a presentation to their full board of directors at their next meeting. And I'll be no doubt getting information from you folks to support some of the things that I will be sharing with their board of directors, because I certainly want to make sure that they know and understand and figure out how we can partner with them, because we want to make this better. I'm very concerned for the safety of the kids and the families that live at Emma's Place. I am equally as concerned for our community members and the people who come here to shop at our small businesses and enjoy even a coffee at Starbucks, or someone who goes over to our Y to go work out. We want a safe community, and we want Emma's Place to come alongside with us to ensure that everyone is safe in Maplewood. So thank you for your time. Thank you, Chief Beardeman, and we will keep working on this. And council members, we will come back with another update, okay? So thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Council members, we're moving on to the consent agenda. We have items G1 through 8. Is there a motion?
I motion approval of the consent agenda, G items 1 through 8.
Second.
Moved by Cave, seconded by Knutson. Consent agenda items G1 through 8. Is there any further discussion?
Yes.
Councilmember
I
Cave.
just wanted to pull 8 really quick. I saw something in there.
Okay. Mr. Darrow, I
Oh.
believe this one is yours.
Just on page 227 of 313, it was just the holidays. It should be just a typo. It should be 11 holidays now that we added Juneteenth. That's all. That's it.
Good call. 11 holidays after adding Juneteenth. Okay.
The rest look great, by the way.
Thank you for that. Council members, then, let's go to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. The consent agenda is concluded. We have no public hearings tonight. We do have unfinished business. City Manager Coleman or Assistant City Manager Mike Darrow, who's going to tee us up for this?
So, Mayor and Council, the intent to go into closed session with ASME contract.
Could we?
Hello. Mayor and Council, the intent to go into closed session this evening is to bring back the 2022 collective bargaining agreement with ASME. The proposed bargaining agreement is, as I said, being brought back to the council for consideration of all items discussed by ASME and their business agents earlier this year. So we're asking to move to go into close to close the regular meeting, to go into closed session to consider the strategies and review labor negotiation proposals.
Council members, thank you, Mr. Darrow. Council members, is there a motion?
Where is it?
Then I'll make it. Pursuant to Minnesota statute, I had it open. Pursuant to Minnesota statute, section 13D.03, subdivision 1B, I hereby move to close the regular meeting and go into closed session to consider labor negotiation strategies and review of labor negotiation proposals. Do you want me to say it again? No. Okay, sorry, I didn't have my mic on. Pursuant to Minnesota Statute Section 13D.03 Subdivision 1B, I hereby move to close the regular meeting and go into closed session to consider labor negotiation strategies and review of labor negotiations proposals.
Second.
Moved by Abrams, seconded by Juniman, the motion to go into closed session pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.03 Subdivision 1B. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Then let's take a vote. Council members, how do you vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We're in closed session. Very organized. Okay, we are back into open session. We met in closed session for purposes of discussing labor negotiation strategies and review of labor negotiation proposals with the AFSCME group. And I would like to make a motion. The motion is to deny the 2022 collective bargaining agreement between the City of Maplewood and AFSCME.
Second.
Moved by Abrams, seconded by Knutson. The motion to deny the 2022 collective bargaining agreement between the City of Maplewood and AFSCME. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then let's vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. We now move on to new business. Mr. Thompson, this is your agenda item. The Maplewood Assisted Living proposal for 1744 County Road D East.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. If I can get the presentation pulled up. Mayor and council, we have a development application from a prospective development for an assisted living facility on the property, as you referenced, 1744 County Road D. It's a 2-acre parcel, just slightly over 2 acre. It's actually undeveloped. It's kind of the last remaining development site from the Legacy Village planned unit development for the larger area on the northwest side of the north end. There's been actually a number of development proposals on this site over the years that have been approved. The first one back in 2005. There was approval for a multi-tenant retail building. And then just last couple of years ago in 2020, there was the council approved a Wood Spring Suites hotel project on the site that ultimately didn't move forward because of market conditions. I think as we've talked to a number of developers and prospective buyers of the property, there's certainly just the size has been some constraints for some development of the site, but the applicant is now proposing to review it just quickly, it's guided in our comp plan for commercial use. That's consistent with the planned use as part of the Legacy Village planned unit development. And as I mentioned, as part of that planned unit development and comp plan, it allows for a variety of uses, residential, commercial, employment that's consistent with the surrounding neighborhood. And then because there is an amendment to the planned unit development for the Legacy Village, it does require an amendment to that conditional use permit for the original development PUD. The project itself, its initial construction would be a 20-unit assisted living facility, single story. It's just over 17,000 square feet in total size. And it requires, as I mentioned, that conditional use permit, as well as a design review for the construction of the project. Just flip quickly to the site plan here. This is it. So the building would be located on the north side of the property. Again, single story, facing County Road D, and then the parking lot would be on the south side of the building to provide the parking for visitors, employees of the care facility. You'll also note on the site plan that there's actually an area on the west side or the left side of the building for a potential future addition to the building for a future expansion, but that's not included in your approvals here this evening. I know in the neighborhood comments there was one question about the access to the site and how that would be handled. This was actually an item that was discussed as part of the hotel project and in preferring access only from the east to Bittersweet Lane and not to the west. The challenge in doing so is that Bittersweet Lane at County Road D is not a full access. It's hard to see there, but there's a median in County Road D. So providing access to the site only from Bittersweet to the east wouldn't provide full access from County Road D. There isn't because there's a full access at County Road D in Flanders. That's why they're proposing the 2 access points, one to the west and one to the east. Again, just given the nature of the development and what was anticipated for the Legacy Village overall project, we don't anticipate any significant impacts associated with that access. And then here's the proposed renderings for the project. This would be as kind of from the south side of the building, kind of looking north, again, from the parking lot perspective. The project was reviewed both by the Design Review Board, Community Design Review Board, as well as the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the project. The CDRB did table the application at their first meeting, requesting some changes to the design, particularly the exterior materials and additional renderings to give perspective of how it would relate to the surrounding neighborhood. And ultimately, at their meeting at last month in April, they did then recommend approval of those revised designs, which are included in the packet for your consideration tonight. So with that, we are recommending approval of the project with the resolutions that are included in your packet and the conditions that are included in there. I know the applicant is here tonight with their architect to answer any questions, and I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Would the applicant like to come up and present to the council? And then I will open it up for questions from the council. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Ken Rivera with Rivera Architects. The applicant is not here this evening. Unfortunately, she's sick. She contracted COVID today. So myself and then the contractor are here this evening to answer any questions.
Okay. Council members, do you have any questions? Councilmember Knudsen.
Just on behalf of the council, I'm a liaison with the Planning Commission and the